Hey guys, Glenn here, and I can't believe we are talking about superstar shakeup type stuff still this many weeks after it was supposed to happen. And let's be honest, this whole thing is just messed up, and it resulted in the wild card rule, as it's being dumbly named and implemented, and everything else that Vince McMahon came up with on Raw this past week. And I don't know what to make of any of this anymore. I'm at a loss. I don't know what's going on in the WWE anymore, and I don't understand any of it. So I could go into detail about like everything I think that they've done wrong over the last year. Let's like you have a superstar shakeup, but let's be honest, going into this like since the beginning of the year, even like I think even late last year, they already announced that they were calling up a whole bunch of NXT guys: Lacey Evans, EC3, Lars Sullivan, Nikki Cross, and these people were not even assigned to a brand right away. So they were appearing on both shows, most of the time not even wrestling. Lacey never even had a match until she was officially assigned to Raw, as far as I know, other than the Royal Rumble appearance, but that's a little bit different. You had, I don't think Nikki Cross has done anything. No, she had a couple team matches, I think, but again, she was on both brands, and it already made the brand split mean nothing. If you have these people competing on both shows, I mean, Heavy Machinery were in number one contenders matches for both titles, tag team titles on both shows. Why? Because they weren't assigned to a brand, and it's like, why do they get more opportunities? And so that was kind of the first thing that made everyone kind of, brand split doesn't mean anything, right? Then you've got, before the superstar shakeup again, suddenly now we got Aleister Black, and we've got Ricochet, and we've got Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, who are still listed as main roster guys, even though they haven't been on since Ciampa got hurt. So I don't, and Gargano's now the NXT champion, and I don't think they're officially called up the same way Ricochet and Black are, but whatever. And you have them, and now they're on both shows because, again, like, and to, as we kind of talked about when online when we talked on the Facebook post when we were getting ready to do the predictions for WrestleMania weekend. You got Ricochet and Black, who in a 1 week period had a Raw Tag Team title match, a SmackDown Tag Team title match, and an NXT Tag Team title match. So that's fine. They're called up, and you're calling up all these people, and they're wrestling on both shows. Meanwhile, you've got existing talent on your shows that you're not even using. And that's another huge problem. So not only are you telling people that the brand split doesn't, I keep wanting to say superstar shakeup, that the brand split doesn't mean anything between the two shows, but now you're telling them that, for some people that is, you're also telling the fans that you don't care about some of your talent. So that's whatever. Then they finally say, okay, there's going to be a superstar shakeup. Everyone's going to be assigned to a brand finally. Great. Everyone should be, and things should have gone back to normal after that. But it didn't. First off, it took them weeks to complete the superstar shakeup, something that was only supposed to be 1 week. Raw and SmackDown ended up being 3, 4, or 5 weeks, whatever it's now been. And just when we thought it was finally over, this past weekend before Raw, Roman Reigns says that he has unfinished business on Raw, and so he's coming to Raw. And they do this whole angle where WWE tells him to stay away, but he comes anyways. And they play his music. If he's not supposed to be there, why are they playing his music? And if these other guys aren't supposed to be there, why are they in their wrestling gear, Kofi? But, whatever. So now we've got we've got this. And right there, the best part is that whole episode of Raw ended. Roman Reigns didn't appear on SmackDown this week, even though that's his show now. And we are now told we were left with the whole purpose of how this all came about was because Roman had some quote unquote unfinished business on Raw. Because everyone started interrupting right away, we never found out what that unfinished business was. Now, Drew McIntyre came out and said that he had unfinished business with Roman, and we had another WrestleMania rematch, which we shouldn't have had or needed. Because Roman beat him again. What is Roman's unfinished business? Roman beat Drew. What's there to be unfinished about? Your guess is as good as mine. And don't say it was with Drew McIntyre, because it wasn't. He beat him at WrestleMania. There was no reason for Roman to come back for that. There was no, I want to beat him again. You beat him already. Who cares? Move on. So we never did find out what Roman's thing was, which was what instigated this whole thing in the first place. And then Daniel Bryan shows up for no apparent reason. Kofi shows up saying, Roman said he's coming, so I decided to come. And somehow we were supposed to understand why all these people just showed up. And Vince comes up, says I've just come up with a brilliant idea. I'm a genius. We'll have a wild card rule. And the wild card rule's stupid, because that's going to bring me into my other point. That's going to take me back to what I was talking about a little bit earlier. So we have a wild card rule now. So Vince says 3 superstars from Raw can make appearances on SmackDown, and 3 SmackDown superstars can make an appearance on Raw. He said invited, but it didn't sound like anybody was invited, even on SmackDown. It sounded like it was just whoever shows up first. And for what further that was later on when Vince was on the phone on Raw, he says, if only 3, because if any more than 3 show up, they're going to be fired. And he says Shane and Elias didn't count. But then Lars walks in and he says, okay, let's make it 4. But again, he set a precedent. 4. So 4 for SmackDown from Raw this week was AJ Styles, Sami Zayn, and Jay and Jimmy Uso. That's 4. So the Miz is fired now, based on what Vince said? Or are we going to ignore that? Or just the Usos count as one person? There's no logic and follow through with any of this. It literally is this is just our excuse because we've run out of ideas. We don't know how to use the talent that we've got. So we're going to use the talent we know how to use, kind of, repeatedly over and over again whenever we need to fill plot holes. By creating more plot holes. So, and this is the biggest issue I have with this is, again, going back and what I just said, they don't know what to do with these people. Because of this new wildcard rule, based on 4 going either way, potentially every week now, 8 superstars total, 4 from Raw, 4 from SmackDown, potentially will get double the amount of airtime now, while some superstars still get none. That are supposed to be main roster guys. People some of which you called up from NXT that you either haven't used or have barely used or done anything with. But you're going to give more airtime to guys who are already established, who already have storylines, who already are getting airtime. Now, yes, not everybody did get double airtime. As I mentioned already, Roman Reigns did show up on Raw, but he didn't come to SmackDown. He wasn't on SmackDown this week. Fair. Becky Lynch, who's already been getting double airtime because she's both the Raw and SmackDown Women's Champion, was also not on SmackDown this week. Fair. And that's the thing. And at the end, like, I get it. The Money in the Bank, Becky kind of needs to be on both shows right now because she's got 2 title defenses. Going forward, that should not be a thing. But Sami Zayn, AJ Styles, Kofi Kingston, Shane McMahon, Daniel Bryan, The Usos, The Miz, and Lars Sullivan all got double airtime this week. They appeared on both Raw and SmackDown. Meanwhile, surprisingly, Charlotte Flair got no airtime this week, which is shocking. But also, Tyler Breeze, Sin Cara, Shelton Benjamin, Sarah Logan, Ruby Riott, Mojo Rawley, Mickie James, The Ascension, Jinder Mahal, EC3, Chad Gable, Bayley, Apollo Crews, The Authors of Pain, Shinsuke Nakamura, Rusev, Lana, Liv Morgan, Nikki Cross, Eric Young, Cedric Alexander, Cesaro, and Buddy Murphy got no airtime this week. And some of these were especially like Cedric Alexander and Buddy Murphy, they got little promo packages advertising their change in brands. You broke up the Riot Squad and have not used them since the Superstar Shakeup. Ruby and Sarah have not appeared on Raw. Liv has not made an appearance yet on SmackDown. You split up Sanity, who you barely used to begin with. Eric Young has yet to have a match on Raw. The last time we saw Eric Young on SmackDown was in that stupid angle where they were protecting Shane McMahon. The thing's a joke. And what makes it funnier is somebody tweeted out something criticizing Vince McMahon and the whole thing. And Triple H liked it. And the truth of the matter is if you watched Raw and SmackDown, and I don't know, I know a lot of people don't watch 205 Live, and honestly, I don't find it the best show in the world. However, 205 Live is being headed up by Triple H these days, as is NXT, as is NXT UK. Vince very much still has his hands 100% control of Raw and SmackDown. And 205 Live, so far, has been the best show this week. Yes, it wasn't nothing, like, don't get me wrong, it wasn't outstanding of a show or anything like that. The matches were good, but the thing is that the matches were good, or decent, or watchable, and the angles and the storylines that they pushed through forward made sense. The Singh brothers want revenge on the Lucha Dragons for ruining their return to 205 Live. Makes sense. Tozawa and Kanellis have this long-standing feud. We're going to finish it in a Falls Count Anywhere, no holds barred match. Made sense. Arya Daivari is going to have a match with Nice because he's the challenger for the title and so forth. Again, everything to progress an actual storyline and angle that makes sense. Nothing Raw and SmackDown have really done this week really made sense. There was no reason for Kofi to come out and get an AJ Styles and Sami Zayn's face. None. There was no reason for Daniel Bryan to come out on Raw and get in Roman Reigns' face. And it didn't lead to anything. There was no reason. We had two WWE title matches between Raw and SmackDown. Which is a big deal, obviously, but it's like, you're not going to hotshot the title, especially this close to Money in the Bank, when you've got already Kofi versus Kevin Owens, so we already know who's going to win. It's just really bizarre creative right now. And the funny thing is apparently the lead writer of Raw got fired last week, which explains a lot. it seems that the new MO of the Vince McMahon is, I'm going to blame everyone else. And don't get me wrong, it might have been justified blaming, and he might have been fired for a good reason, because he probably wrote most of the crap that we've watched over the last year. That was all the stuff with Baron Corbin when he was the GM that everyone hated. But then they present themselves as the good guys. I don't get it. I really don't. So, if you can help me figure this out, please help me figure this out. You can comment below. But honestly, WWE needs to fix something fast, because there's already all sorts of hype for AEW. And don't get me wrong, I am not on the side of, AEW until they run a show is just a t-shirt company. And I am not, at the same time, I don't think they're going to blow the WWE out of the water either. I don't think this is the second coming of WCW. I don't think this is the return of the Monday Night Wars or any of that garbage that some people seem to think it's going to be. Even though the AEW has even said that's not our intention. I am of the mindset of the logical standpoint that AEW is going to present competition. Competition is good for everybody. However, we all remember what happened when WWE was ill prepared for WCW's competition years ago. When Impact or TNA or whatever tried to go head-to-head with them on Monday night, they weren't ready. Raw was fine. There was no reason to have a competitor at that point, and they were ill prepared to compete with the WWE. But when WCW moved to Monday nights and did compete with, when WCW started on Monday nights, I don't know if I said that right. When WCW started on Monday nights and they started to compete with Raw, we found out just how ill-prepared WWE was for competition. They didn't take the WCW seriously. It does appear that the WWE does believe the AEW is serious, because they are trying to hold on to talent. But at the same time, if you're not going to use the talent or use the talent properly, what's the point? AEW will do just fine with the talent they've already got. So there's no reason to hold on to talent if you're not going to use it. You're not giving them more ammo. All you're doing is shooting yourself in the foot. Use the talent. If you're going to keep the talent, use the talent and use it right. It's that simple. And I get it. You can't have every talent on every single show. I get it. That's not possible. I understand that. But you have a brand split. Use it for a reason. Keep Raw guys off SmackDown. Keep SmackDown guys off of Raw. That's step one. Step two, start using and developing stories. You don't have to have the same people. Look at UFC. UFC is a prime example of how not every person has to... Nobody fights on the same cards, and I get it, it's a real sport, so it's a little bit different. You need lots of time to prepare for a fight and so forth. But not everybody fights on the same card, and the shows do fine. Why? Because there's enough star power. WWE has enough star power that, yeah, maybe you do want to have certain people on every single week. But, a lower card feud, like Lars Sullivan and R-Truth, for example, could be touched on every other week. It doesn't have to be an every week feud. And then another lower card, equally lower card feud could take place on the weeks that those don't happen. And more talent would get used, more talent would get airtime, and fans would tune in more to find out what's going to happen the next time. And I'm not saying you have to do it every other week. You can mix and match it, and that way fans have to tune in, because if they only care about one of the two storylines, they're going to tune in every week anyways to make sure they don't miss when the next one happens. So it's... it seems that the WWE, we've got nothing for you right now, kid. Seems like that's the answer for about 80% of their roster right now. That's a scary thought. Like, it's funny, when they started the the NXT UK, I actually thought to myself originally, it's like, but these guys' goal is to get on, they wanted to be in WWE. Like, I get it, it's a division of the WWE, but it's not the same thing. And they make it seem like, oh, this is where we want to be. We want to be here. It's like, no, don't you want to be on WrestleManias? Don't you want to be on this? Honestly, right now, if I was an NXT UK star, I'd want to stay as far away from the rest of the WWE right now as possible, because God knows what Vince would do with you right now. I thought it was great years ago when Pete Dunne made that surprise appearance on Raw, even though Kurt Angle ruined it. Actually, I think Kevin Dunn ruined it because I think he played the wrong music. But whatever. Nonetheless, it was cool. It was cool to have Pete Dunne make that appearance, and so I'm down with that. Royal Rumble with all the surprise entrants and so forth from all the brands. Again, fantastic. That's always great. That's fun. But for the love of God, if I was Pete Dunne now, knowing that more or less my time in the NXT UK top main event picture is probably gone now that, they've moved on to a new champion finally after, almost 2 years, I'd be like, yeah, I still want to stay here. I'll feud with somebody else. Or I'd be like, I'll go fight in the Florida NXT for a while. But if they were like going, oh, well, we're thinking about moving you to Raw or SmackDown, I'd be like, no, I'm good. I'll stay here for now. Thanks. So, and that's a pretty sad state of affairs when there's wrestlers like, you take Ty Dillinger, for example, or I guess Sean Spears, because that's what he's going by his real name again. But you take a guy like that, super talented young talent, barely got used, didn't get used properly when he got onto the main roster, was used pretty decently in NXT, but came to the main roster and really didn't get used well, if it ever. And he asked to go back to NXT, and they said no. And it's like, oh, and he was even told you can't go back, yet apparently Tyler Breeze can go back, because I've read some spoilers and I know he's making some more appearances for NXT coming up, which is, again, thank God for that. It's sad that it feels like you're going backwards in your career, but at the same time, at least he gets to work. When he's getting no TV time, what's the point? So at least if he's in NXT, he gets to work and make sure that he gets some ring time and has a story, whether, whatever. And, and if his contract comes up and he's still not happy, at least then he can turn to other promoters and go, see what I've been doing in NXT for the last year. It's ridiculous what's going on. And I don't understand. Honestly, I think it's Vince. And I think it's weird for a guy who grew up watching wrestling during the Attitude Era, when a lot of people used to say Triple H buries a lot of talent, which I never felt was 100% true. Don't get me wrong, he did bury some people, but not to the level that fans always complained about. But you got Triple H, who's honestly, he's doing a fantastic job. He's booking pretty much the right talent. He's telling intriguing stories, putting on great great matches. He's got a good team around him. Honestly, I think it's time Vince literally just hands it all over to Triple H. He's got the XFL starting back up. That's going to take up his time. Next year can't come fast enough. I know some fans are thinking, oh, the XFL, what a stupid idea to bring it back. There might be some fans out there that are football fans that are actually excited about the XFL coming back. I'm excited about the XFL coming back because I think it means less Vince McMahon in the WWE. And honestly, I think it needs it sooner rather than later. And definitely before AEW's TV deal starts, because honestly, I think the WWE's going down that same path they were when WCW got in. But I could be wrong. That's just how I feel. That's my opinion. So yeah, that's my opinion. Tell me what you think. Tell me if you can make sense of any of this, because I sure as heck can't. Comment below, like, share, subscribe, all that wonderful stuff. I can't keep talking about this. I'm sorry. I gotta go. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you again soon. Thanks.